Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing something I've never done before. I'm making homemade ketchup. This is going to be a learning experience for me also, but I figured I would document my journey with learning how to make ketchup, and I'm going to show you everything that you need. Hopefully it's not too bad or too hard. You just need a whole lot of tomatoes, and I'm going to show you and tell you how much of each thing you need. So let's get to it. All right, here's what you're going to need. I have 24 to 25 pounds of ripe tomatoes out of my garden. I had so much, I have abundance of tomatoes that I have to use them for something else. I've made too much salsa. But you're going to need sugar, cider vinegar. I have apple cider vinegar, salt, and I just have the canning and pickling salt. It'll work just fine. Cayenne pepper, cinnamon sticks, onions. Now I have whole allspice, celery seed, and whole cloves. You're going to need these to be whole, not the ground, because we're going to steep it and take it out. We're not leaving it inside. And this is the book that I'm using today to get the ketchup recipe out of. And I will post the recipe in the description. But should be everything that I need today. Now the tomatoes we're going to do just like I do everything else for the tomatoes when I'm making salsa or diced or any type of canned tomato. What we're going to do is we're going to core them. We're going to put an X, we're going to score it on the bottom, and then we're going to put it in boiling water so we can get the skins off and then peel them. So that's going to be really the longest step besides just letting it cook down. Have somebody to help you with this. This is always the most time-consuming part. But the rest of it should be really easy. And I also forgot to tell you that you need some type of steeping bag. I couldn't find anything at my local, so I'm just going to use a natural coffee filter and then use cotton twine and tie the top. So that will be for the crushed up cinnamon sticks and then all these spices. And so I can just steep it inside and be able to take it out afterwards. Okay, for those who have not seen this before, or you're new to my channel, my trusty strawberry core works great for the cores on tomatoes. So I take the cores out, and then I score the bottom with an X, okay? And I'm going to do that to every single one of these tomatoes. Now, if the tomatoes have really bad broken spots or bad spots, all you have to do is cut them out. You can use the rest of the tomato. It doesn't mean that the whole tomato is bad. Just cut out that section. Make sure you get all the bad stuff. And then score it and use the rest of the tomato. Alright. Once you get them in, let them sit in there for like 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how hard the skins are. They'll start peeling off the bottom. Then you take them out and you put them immediately into an ice bath. I scrubbed my sink really, really good with soap and everything, and then I put a whole bag of ice and then cold water in here, and this is what we're going to shock them in. Okay, in this I took 3 cinnamon sticks and I crushed them up into smaller pieces. So I have 3 cinnamon sticks, 4 teaspoons of whole cloves, and then I have a teaspoon and a half of whole allspice, and then I had 3 tablespoons of celery seed, which is the little green ones in here. But I'm going to tie this up. I did 2 of them because this is so many spices. The only spice that we're putting in that we're going to leave in and not take out is the cayenne pepper. So if you have a spice bag or a little mesh bag or something, tea strainer or something you could put this in, you could use that also. Here is my spice bag. There were so many spices. They really need a bigger spice bag, so I took the 2 more of the coffee filters, the natural coffee filters, and I turned it over and then closed it up, and then I used my cotton twine, and I'm going to use it like this and have it on a spoon or something to hold it right where it's just in it, and I can pull it out when I need it. Alright, once they are shocked and they're a little cool, they're cooled down some, they're not completely cold. Once they're shocked, what you need to do is peel off all the skin. I know it's a little dark right here, sorry guys. Peel off all the skin. And they're already cored, so you don't have to worry about it. Make sure there's no bad spots. If there's any bad spots, take it out. But what you're going to do is you're just going to, these smaller ones, you're just gonna cut them into fours, okay? Cut these into fours. And have a big stock pot. I have a big stock pot I'm about to throw them in. But that's what you're going to do, and you're going to do that for all the tomatoes once you get all the skins off of them. And I did want to remind you guys that I am using multiple different varieties. So if you only have one variety, that's fine too. But like, don't be afraid to use different varieties. I have Roma, San Marzanos. I have some that are Rutgers. I have bigger tomatoes. I think these are Abe Lincolns, and I have some red beefsteaks and a bunch of others mixed in there. I think I have some black crims. You don't have to use just one type, but if they're really big, see how big that is? You can core them down smaller, but when you get them into 4s or 6s, whatever you need to do, just put them in a stock pot until you're done. Okay, I got all the tomatoes in here. I'm just stirring it so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. This is a really big stock pot, but you're going to let it cook down for about 30 minutes until it starts to boil. And it's going slow, even though I have it on a high. It's just a lot of tomatoes to start to get to a certain temperature. Now I did show you what was in the book for the measurements, but I'm going to just tell you what it is. I have 3 cups of chopped onions. I just used my processor to chop those. I have 3 cups of apple cider vinegar. Then I have, I think it's a 1.5 cups of sugar, 1/4 cup of salt. Now I'm using the canning salt / pickling salt, which is fine. You can also use kosher. Don't use the iodized salt. And then I have 3/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. These are all going to go in at separate times, but I'm just telling you what the measurements on each of these was. Alright, while this is heating up, we're just going to add the onions so they can cook down too. And then we're going to strain all this off through the food mill. And you will need a food mill or a strainer. You can do this with a regular strainer. It just takes longer. But I'm going to put the onions and the cayenne pepper in. And stir it around and let it come to boil. Once it comes to a boil, set a timer for 20 minutes and just let it boil. Keep stirring it every now and then, but let it boil for 20-25 minutes. After the 20 minutes, it says to take it off, put a lid on it, and let it sit for 20 minutes. And while we're doing that, I'm going to heat just the apple cider vinegar up. And you're going to put the packet in and let it soak. You're going to heat it up to boiling, and it says let it boil for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes were up. For the spices, I used 2 wooden spoons to squeeze the spice bag out. And it's a dark amber color, and there's not a lot left, so hopefully this is enough for this whole pot. We'll find out. But it said to put this back on after it resting for 20. It's been 30 minutes actually. It said to put this on, and then it said to combine the vinegar in the tomato sauce. Boil the mixture for 30 minutes. Okay, after it has boiled for about 30 minutes, you're going to run it through a food mill or a sieve, whatever you have, to take all the seeds and any missed skins out, but you just keep going around with it like this if you have a food mill, and it will come out the bottom. And you can see that's what you keep, just like my tomato sauce video, but that's what you keep going until you do the whole pot. Okay, once you have everything milled down, I have about half of a pot. This is of the stock pot. Now what you're going to do now is you're going to reduce this down. You're going to get it to boil and then reduce it to about medium and just let it boil until it reduces to half of this. So I'm about right here. I'm going to reduce it down to here. Okay, and I'm getting ready to throw in the salt and sugar. We're going to add our salt. It's a 1/4 of a cup of salt. And then the 1½ cups of sugar. Okay, we're going to stir that up and start boiling this down. Okay, it's getting thicker. It's almost to half, but I don't like how chunky it is still. So I'm going to use my immersion blender, and I'm going to blend it down some to get some of the tomato chunks. I think I used too big of a the disc on my food mill, so I'm going to use this and blend it down some. Alright, when it's getting close to being done, it's going to pop a whole lot more because there's less water in there. I'm going to show you how thick it is, okay? Depending on how thick you want your ketchup, because you can let it go a little bit longer, but if you let it go too long, it's going to be being like tomato paste. I'm about to turn this down on low and let it simmer and get my jars ready. Isn't it pretty? It's pretty thick. Now I'm getting ready to get the jars out, and it said in the book that the jars need to be filled to 1/8 of an inch, and I'm using pints, and they're gonna have to process for 15 minutes if you're 1,000 feet for altitude and under. If you're over, it's 20 minutes. So remember, guys, this is going to cook more. It's pretty thick. If you want it thicker, just go a little bit longer, but it's going to cook more in the canner, so I'm not too worried about it. Got them all in there. I'm going to get this to a rolling boil and then process it for 15 minutes. This one was the only one I couldn't fill all the way to the top, but I want to show you how pretty it is. "15 minutes went off. I'm going to take them out of here. I'm going to put them on a mat and just let them sit until the next day, and then check the seals." So remember, when you are checking your jars the next day, you should be able to hold them by this the lid, barely touching it. Give it a little tug on it. If you tug on it and it comes off, it wasn't sealed properly, and it's not going to last on your shelf. So make sure, give it a good tug, and then wipe them down really good and put them away. And for my first time making ketchup, it turned out pretty good. It's actually delicious. So if you have an abundance of tomatoes, or you can get them for cheap, go ahead and try this recipe, and I'll see you guys next time.